said Iran was one of the biggest topics. To me, at the press conference, I'm sure it's not just to me, but it sounded like President Trump basically threatened Iran, saying that you will never have a nuclear bomb. Um, his administration will not allow that. So it's very interesting to see what the trickle down effect of this declarations and um, policies that we'll be implementing based on this press conference now, or president's statements, what the trickle down effect will be in the region. But before we get to that, I know that you read Russian media on a daily basis. You basically see how the Kremlin is reacting to many of this event. So Peskov made a statement, who's the spokesperson of the Russian government or the Kremlin, and he was also pretty measured in his statement. So, what do you
Very
make of it?
much.
If you want to overview his statement, it was short, but nonetheless, it was um, very poignant in some ways. So, tell us what
Yeah,
he said.
yeah. I think you're right. He was very measured. He also pointed out that Russia is supporting two-state solution as the rest of the international community, and he supported the position of Jordan and Egypt on a resettlement of Palestinians from Gaza to other locations in the region, to other states. And that was it, basically. I think what we can think of related to the statement of Mr. Peskov is that Moscow was surprised with the press conference and what they heard, and probably they still need time to digest it. And obviously, being effectively out of the region after what happened in Syria, they don't have much tools to not only intervene but even to be somewhere, you know, um, with this, decision makers on the same table, at the same table. So
Yes, I,
that makes Russia's position very difficult even to contest, I would say, for now.
yeah, I completely agree with that. I think with losing positions over time, and especially in Syria um, recently, I think Putin or the Kremlin is completely um, not, especially yesterday's press conference, basically completely threw him off balance. That's how I would see it, because President Trump came out as somebody very bold, coming up with this very innovative idea, good idea or bad idea, that's different. But the point is that he is ready to take steps. He's ready to propose something that nobody would expect. So if you take that and apply it to the case of US relationship with Russia, or America's position and policy towards the war in Ukraine, this press conference indicated that, well, we don't know what he's going to do. So whatever game plan that Russia had to this point, I think by yesterday's proposal about Gaza, basically changed Putin's calculus on how he should be approaching Donald Trump. What's your view on that? And then I want to ask you about one more question about the Middle East before we get into other topics.
Okay. I think you brilliantly actually explained the situation from the Russian point of view, and I would like to build on this and actually even go a bit further. I think President Trump and during this press conference, not only for Russia but for the rest of the world, he might set up the precedent of certain new approaches that can be used elsewhere, as you said, in this war between Russia and Ukraine, or maybe somewhere else. And that is something that we have to still look and analyze. What does that mean for the future
Yep.
as a precedent? Because this kind of, if these policies will start to be implemented somehow, and if United States with Israel and possibly with some other regional countries will move forward uh, and create, let's say, a roadmap for implementation of this plan or something like that, that will change a lot of things uh, on the global scale in terms of certain conflictual situation elsewhere.
Hmm.
And this is exactly what actually might happen, but we don't know how. But that actually also adds up some uncertainty to the whole situation, I
Yeah,
would say.
yeah.
But
Um,
good point. I really didn't thought about it before you mentioned it.
yeah, I think we should see how this continues, and if we see any sort of change in Russia's outlook towards the U.S., which I think in some cases was um, basically same old, uh, predictable policies, predictable statements, and maybe even steps. Sanctions policy, yes, okay, increased sanctions. The U.S. has increased sanctions, and especially towards the end of the last administration, it
Yeah.
was very important, some of the sanctions policies that they took. But it still was pretty predictable. But now, what Donald Trump has introduced in the international relations is basically nothing's predictable. You don't even know what I'm thinking.